Kane, Marco, or the unstoppable Juggernaut has been a mainstay in the Marvel Universe ever since his debut in the 1960s. He is the giant behemoth that donned in a suit of red armor that can destroy any and everything in his path. As one of the more compelling and multifaceted antagonists in the X-Men universe, the Juggernaut boasts an interesting anatomy and is definitely a sight to behold. If you are new to the Marvel Universe, you will be astonished to know the sheer stupidity of Juggernaut powers and abilities. So without further ado, let us get straight into exploring each aspect of one of the most formidable villains in the Marvel Universe. And before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just a little click for you, but for us it means an awful lot. But thank you very much, and let's begin. Is Juggernaut really a mutant? To answer this question, we have to delve deep into the origins of this behemoth of a character. Many believe that the Juggernaut is a character who was born as a mutant while his powers developed over time like any other in the Marvel Universe. But in contrast, the stepbrother, Professor X Kane Marco, was an average human serving in the Korean War. Jim Kane was being bombarded by enemy mortar and decided to take shelter in a nearby cave while Xavier followed him to ensure that their team didn't assume he was a deserter. The two came across a lost ancient temple in the wilderness. Upon inspecting this place alongside Xavier, Kane discovered the Crimson Gem of Sithrak. The gem was an old artifact and was seen as a deity. By the primitive humans of that region, Xavier was smart enough to realize thereabouts. And he even warned Kane not to touch the gem at all. Considering this warning futile, Kane disobeyed a direct request and grabbed the gem. As the temple started shaking and crumbling with the two inside, Xavier was able to make it out alive. But Kane was not so fortunate. Or so Xavier thought, because by touching the gem, Kane was imbued with the power bestowed upon him by Sithrak, turning him into the Juggernaut. With this origin story, it's clear that Kane was never a carrier of the mutant gene. He was, instead, a normal human that gained his powers through the blessings or curse of the Lord of Oblivion, Sithrak. Long story short, Juggernaut is not a mutant because his powers are of mystical nature, and he never possessed the mutant gene in his body. It's also noteworthy that if Sithrak wishes, he can strip Kane of all these powers, returning him back to a normal human. It's also a fact that none of the technology that's created to alter or dampen the powers of mutants works on the Juggernaut. The origin or source of Juggernaut's power has a much more exciting explanation than him simply having mutant genes, which also explains why he's so strong. And on that note, let's talk a little more about that. And what is the source of his endless energy? Sitaraku, also known as the Master of the Raging Storm or simply the Destroyer, is an extra-dimension entity of endless and unfathomable powers. He hailed from the Crimson Cosmos and was worshipped as a demon god by primitive humans who were both respectful and scared of his wrath. We see Kane Marco being imbued by the gem in a lost temple because the myth of Sithrak was lost to time after he was banished back to his home dimension. The Gem of Sithrak is an incredible artifact and its powers seem infinite. The energies that the gem can supply to Sitaram's exemplar are powerful in terms of offense, defense, durability, and most importantly, sustainability. The wielder of the gem does not require sleep or the need to eat, drink, or even breathe, regardless of how weak the host is. We witness this in the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 230, where Spider-Man is able to trick the Juggernaut into a pool of cement. This causes the slow descent of the villain into cement while he attempts to escape, but failing to do. Russo's Juggernaut simply accepts the scenario and patiently waits for the moment to present itself when he can resurface and wreak havoc again. The Juggernaut can go months without any of the needs of regular humans, as the gem provides him with enough power to sustain himself and keep supplying endlessly. With respect to his various descriptive titles, the Juggernaut is truly unstoppable. Thanks to the gem, the Juggernaut can create an infinite source of kinetic energy once he gains enough momentum, so he is truly unstoppable once he gets into motion. Then, and only the likes of Hulk have ever come close to slowing him down. Even then, far from stopping him in his tracks. On one occasion, the Juggernaut kept running through an entire mountain as he had been able to create enough kinetic energy through his movement, complementing this unstoppableness. The Juggernaut also has infinite stamina as he's not combined by the limits of humans needing sustainability through outside means to fuel their energy. The Juggernaut simply doesn't have limiter on his stamina. The energy that flows through his body thanks to the gem allows him to stay in motion forever and create more and more energy as per his wishes. His stamina even surmounts that of the Incredible Hulk, who can fight for weeks on end. The Juggernaut's connection to the gym allows him to tap into this energy and become virtually unstoppable, capable of tearing through virtually any obstacle or foe. His path? How does his body armor help Juggernaut due to the mystical nature of Juggernaut's powers? He's not just a physical specimen of a defensive monster. Juggernaut also has two kinds of armor, one being an impenetrable force field thanks to the powers of Sithrak, and the second the unbreakable armor he wields on his body. The armor that Marco wears can be summed up and is referred to as the Crimson Cosmos armor. Apart from being a defensive overkill, the armor fulfills two purposes. One, to provide Juggernaut with extra measures against characters who are able to penetrate the force field surrounding him. Anything can cause damage to him. The unbreakable armor can sustain him for as long as he wishes to go on. And two, most importantly, the Crimson Cosmos also has a helmet which has an underlying skull cap together. This equipment protects the Juggernaut from his worn and only weakness, psionic powers. Despite how physically insane Juggernaut is, a strong psychic like Jean Grey or Professor X can defeat him by breaking through the barriers of his mind. For that and for extra protection, the Crimson Cosmos armor comes in clutch. With the unstoppable, how physically strong is Juggernaut? Even if we simply focus on the physical aspect of the Juggernaut's powers, the sheer upset. Heredity. How strong he really is might surprise fans that haven't explored the comics with the blessing of Sithrak. Juggernaut is one of the strongest physical beings in the entire Marvel Universe. To compare, even the strongest version of Hulk cannot go toe-to-toe with this monster, and if they can, they definitely can't outperform him in terms of stamina, his massive fists, and cause earthquakes of tremendous magnitudes and even cause fissures, while his body can simply penetrate any obstacle. Once he gains momentum due to his insane strength and durability, the Juggernaut can take on an insane amount of beating from the likes of Por with his malware, and even cosmic entities, as we witnessed in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 629. Juggernaut can even withstand the extremely high gravitational strength of Earth's core, while also paving his way through the bedrock. This feat requires unfathomable amounts of strength and durability, as not many can take on such insane amounts of punishment while using their strength to penetrate highly rigid rocks. Juggernaut has proved time and time again that in terms of raw physicality, he can go to extremes while fighting the likes of Thor and Hulk, while beating the likes of the Thing and Colossus. His thunderclap ability is a testament to his powers, and on multiple occasions the force that he creates with his thunderclap is shown to be felt by multitudes of people, badly affecting the ones who are the targets. The absurdity of Juggernaut's physical prowess is one of the most enjoyable factors about his character. Kane. Marco having a military background and being blessed with limitless powers. It's a sight to behold, as he loves to engage in close-quarters combat and eventually overpower his opponents while not even breaking a sweat. Does Juggernaut have healing powers even after being famously invulnerable? Juggernaut can also sometimes receive a speck of damage or more, but let's not digress. Usually raw physical moves or weapons cannot penetrate the Juggernaut's defensive, but mystical or cosmic weapons that are physical in nature can, especially when they're being dished by beings of immense power. In these scenarios, even if the Juggernaut is in peril or not, the Gem of Sithrak comes in clutch and immediately starts healing and negating all the damage that he has taken. Although his healing factor isn't on the same level as Deadpool's or Wolverine's, it's still a remarkable ability that seems boundless. We see an example of this absurd healing power, and the Demon Despair turns the Juggernaut into nothing but a skeleton from that state. The gem was able to completely regenerate Juggernaut's body back to its original form within a matter of seconds. Okay, Juggernaut healing ability may not be as strong as Deadpool's, but it's definitely faster and more efficient. The Juggernaut can stay in the midst of battle even after suffering tremendously at the hands of his opponents, and his healing factor and self-sustenance will allow him to be completely unaffected by forces that are non-lethal to him. Can Juggernaut reproduce? Have you ever heard of the X-People or a Next or even J2 and Zane? Yama. If not Zane, Yama is the son of Kane, Marco, and Sachi Yama on Earth 982, which is the MC2 or Marvel Comics 2 continuity. In this timeline, Kane Marco has redefined himself as a hero and worked alongside the X-Men. He started a family with his lover Sachi and even has a lovely son. His happy life was disrupted by Nemesis, who held Marco captive in a parallel reality. While the disappearance of Zane's father was attributed to him going missing during a mission with the X-Men, since the fact that Kane definitely has a son who has inherited his powers and idolizes the superhero that Juggernaut has become, takes place in an alternate reality than that of the Prime Earth. We will explain Juggernaut's ability to procreate using the logic of Earth 616 before becoming the Juggernaut Cain. Marco was an average human being without any traces of the mutant gene. After getting into contact with the gem of Sithrak, Cain became Sitaram's exemplar and his avatar of destruction. Alive in the flesh on Earth, even after all that Juggernaut is still a superpowered human who can indulge in normal human activities, meaning that Juggernaut can definitely reproduce if he so wishes. And there's no biological or mystical reason that would stop him from doing so. Can Juggernaut change his size under normal circumstances? There have been no instances where the Juggernaut has grown any further in size, especially willingly. Even though his depictions have shown him to be of varying sizes, it doesn't imply that he can alter his massive stature at will. But as always, there is an exception to that when Juggernaut is able to harness the powers of the gem of. Iterate completely without any obstructions is already absurd. Powers are amplified to a new level that surpasses those previous levels of absurdity in his Trine Juggernaut form. The red behemoth can alter his size to become even more menacing, as he can increase his height tenfold if the situation requires it. This beyond Omega level character can grow larger than a sentinel, able to grow his whole body in unison with his output of strength and raw physicality. Trine Juggernaut does just get the ability to change his size. He can also track his enemies with pinpoint accuracy, manipulate matter, gain the ability to levitate, absorb any projectile-like damage, and even dish it back out. Project energy at will and create and shatter portals through space and time. If you can imagine a human-sized yet unstoppable killing machine, simply multiply that threat by a figurative 20 and you'll understand how outrageous a Trine Juggernaut really is. At least the silver lining is at infinity. Multiplied by 20 is still infinite. Right. Can Juggernaut be defeated? Is he immortal? Sadly, the infamous, unstoppable Juggernaut is not exactly unstoppable. Even the limitless power as he receives from Sithrak can be outshined by others with superior, limitless abilities or characters that boast the one and only weakness to Juggernaut, which is powers. Arguably at this point, the only weakness Juggernaut has is a lack of plot armor. But in reality, the reason why he wears a massive helmet over his head despite his mystical force field defending him any oncoming damage is that he needs to shield himself from powerful psychics that are abundant in the Marvel Universe. Psychic powers are the bane of Juggernauts, as they can simply bypass all his defenses and raw physicality to attack his mental weaknesses directly. The heroes have banded together on multiple occasions to focus on removing Juggernaut's helmet and allow Professor X to barrage him with psionic abilities, even though that is easier said than done. It's worked numerous times in the past and is a tried and tested method of besting. Roger, not over time. The behemoth has adapted to such attacks and has tried to prepare himself better so he doesn't succumb to such powers. But with the existence of extremely powerful psychics such as Professor X and Jean Grey, Juggernaut has a particularly hard time adapting. Despite this one individual weakness, the Juggernaut is now immortal when it comes to durability and sustenance. The gem of Sithrak allows him to have no exterior requirements in terms of refueling oneself. This is because the gem allows him to be completely self-sustainable with a limitless supply of energy. And to add to that, Juggernaut never ages, and his body never seems to succumb to the confines of time. He can even survive in the vacuum of space and is immune to most toxins, diseases, and radioactive elements of the universe. Sithrak has created a truly, unimaginably strong avatar of his destruction, and due to his close to immortal nature, he's a mainstay of Marvel's entourage of villains, and his torture has no seeming end. To us, commit collusion. It could be argued that Juggernaut's powers as depicted in the Marvel Universe are completely ludicrous and border highly on the negative on a scale of reasonability. His superhuman strength, durability, and momentum renders him nearly impervious to physical attacks, and his ability to heal injuries quickly seems almost unbelievable. Even his mystical energy provided him with a range of other abilities, including abilities that one would normally not associate with brute, such as energy projection, super speed, and the ability to survive in outer space. The sheer folly that comes into the conversation when the topic regards Juggernaut powers is fascinating. This antagonistic character is single-handedly one of the strongest physical specimens in the Marvel Universe. Even though his powers are outrageous in many ways, it acts as a great plot advice, and the writer's credit they've always ensured that the character stays interesting. Juggernaut's personality and character development are a sight to behold, and he is one of the more interesting villainous brutes out there. Some fans might see Juggernaut's abilities as over-the-top and unrealistic, but they remain a defining part of this character and contributed to his enduring popularity in the Marvel Universe, and honestly, that is what makes him so endearing. And if you liked our content, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already, but otherwise have a good one. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.